Tariffs are often talked about in the context of international politics, major economies, and global trade wars. But the truth is, in 2025, it is not the large corporations who are feeling the deepest sting of rising tariffs. It is a small business. The very people building niche product lines, sourcing specialty parts, or trying to compete in a saturated marketplace are the ones quietly losing their margins, delaying growth, or shutting down entirely. These are not headline stories. These are everyday struggles hidden beneath layers of red tape and policy changes. At first glance, tariffs appear to be a tool for national strength. They are introduced to protect domestic industries by taxing imported goods, making them more expensive compared to locally produced ones. But in reality, many small businesses rely on those imported goods to function. Whether it is raw materials from Asia, machinery from Europe, or packaging from Latin America, small enterprises do not have the buying power or supply chain leverage of larger firms. When tariffs increase, their input costs spike. They cannot simply pass these costs on to consumers without risking loss of demand. One of the biggest misconceptions surrounding tariffs is that they only affect imported finished products. But many of the goods that receive tariffs are components, pieces that go into larger creations. A small electronics company in the Midwest might source circuit boards from Taiwan. A candle-making brand may import wax from Brazil. A microbrewery could depend on hops from New Zealand. These entrepreneurs do not have the capital to vertically integrate or find domestic alternatives quickly. Tariffs quietly choke their operations, forcing them to make impossible choices, raise prices, reduce quality, or shut down product lines. In 2025, the global trade environment remains tense. Ongoing disputes between major powers, unpredictable retaliatory measures, and new trade blocs forming have led to a maze of shifting tariffs and border policies. It is no longer just about China or one country. It is about the ripple effect. When one region enacts new trade duties, others respond. And in the middle of it all are small businesses that have no seat at the negotiation table, no lobbyist working in Washington, and no bailout coming if things go wrong. Here is what makes the situation even more difficult. Tariffs are hidden in complexity. Many small business owners do not even realize the full extent of tariff exposure until the bill comes. Freight forwarders, customs brokers, and third-party suppliers may not clearly disclose changes. The invoice arrives, and suddenly, that product which used to cost $5 per unit now costs $7. Multiply that across hundreds or thousands of units, and the math becomes unforgiving. Profit margins shrink. Reorders are slow. Customers start looking elsewhere. The pain does not stop at cost. Tariffs also delay timelines. Customs clearance can take longer when regulations change. Businesses working on tight production schedules find themselves without essential components at critical moments. A clothing line misses its seasonal launch. A toy brand fails to restock before the holidays. These delays damage reputations, hurt customer trust, and compound financial pressure. In the world of small business, a few late weeks can be the difference between survival and collapse. Now, let us talk about the forgotten segment: commerce sellers. In 2025, online marketplaces are flooded with independent brands relying on global sourcing. Platforms like Etsy, Shopify, and Amazon are filled with small businesses shipping directly to customers. When tariffs change, these sellers often bear the cost themselves. A drop shipper importing home decor from Vietnam may suddenly see their entire business model collapse due to one unexpected tax. These sellers are agile but vulnerable. The lack of legal counsel and minimal pricing flexibility makes them easy targets of economic disruption. Let us pause here for a moment. Imagine spending years building a brand, designing products, developing your supply chain, only to see it unravel because of a government policy you had no power to influence. That is the silent crisis happening now. Behind every cute product page and local craft fair booth, there is someone silently recalculating their entire business just to survive. But here is the shift. This crisis does not have to be the end. It can be the beginning of a smarter, more resilient way forward. The first step is awareness. If you are a small business owner in 2025, you need to understand where your vulnerabilities lie. Start by mapping your supply chain. Identify every material, component, or product you import. track their countries of origin. Then check those origins with current tariff schedules. This sounds tedious, but it is foundational. Once you know where your risk is, you can begin to act strategically. Next, look for supplier diversification. Relying on a single overseas source is risky in this volatile environment. Consider building relationships with multiple suppliers in different regions. If you are currently sourcing from China, explore options in India, Mexico, or Vietnam. Even if you maintain your original supplier, having backups can provide leverage and security. Some countries may have favorable trade agreements with the United States that lower or eliminate tariffs entirely. Moving production to those nations can reduce your exposure and build supply chain strength. Another option gaining traction is reshoring. This means bringing production back to the United States, either fully or partially. For small businesses, this may sound expensive, but there are cases where it is cost-effective. You may be able to reduce shipping costs, avoid tariffs, and benefit from local grants or tax breaks. Some states are actively recruiting small manufacturers with incentive programs. The upfront costs can be higher, but over time, the control and predictability you gain might outweigh the price. You should also renegotiate with your suppliers. If tariffs have increased your cost, your suppliers might be willing to meet you halfway. Long-term relationships matter. A 10% tariff hike does not have to mean a 10% price hike if your supplier is willing to absorb part of the change to retain your business. Open communication and transparency are critical. Many suppliers understand the stakes and would rather adjust than lose a loyal partner. There is also a growing trend of forming buying cooperatives. Small businesses can band together to place larger orders and negotiate better rates. By increasing volume collectively, these groups can gain pricing power similar to larger corporations. They can also split the cost of freight and customs brokerage services. This not only cuts costs but builds community and collaboration. In a time when small businesses are under pressure, working together can become a competitive advantage. In addition to supply strategies, pricing models must evolve. Transparency with customers can foster loyalty. Instead of hiding price increases, explain why they are happening. Share stories about your production process, how tariffs have impacted you, and what you are doing to maintain quality. When framed authentically, customers may be more willing to pay a bit more, especially if they value your mission and product. Many consumers in 2025 are more informed and supportive of ethical businesses than ever before. Government programs and local chambers of commerce are another underutilized resource. Some offer tariff mitigation training, import assistance, or financial support for small businesses. There are grants available for companies trying to reshore, build new supplier relationships, or expand into tariff-free regions. These programs are not always easy to find, but they exist. Taking time to research and apply could provide crucial breathing room in your budget. Legal restructuring is also on the table. Forming a subsidiary or distribution company in a lower tariff country may allow you to reroute some of your imports. This involves international tax planning and may require legal consultation, but for businesses doing significant volume, it is worth exploring. It is not just about where you buy. It is also about how you structure the ownership and flow of goods. Ultimately, what you do next will define your survival. Tariffs in 2025 are not just a temporary annoyance. They are shaping the future of how goods move, how brands are built, and how small businesses adapt. While you may not be able to control global politics, you can control your strategy. Adaptability is not a trait, it is a skill. The more you build that skill now, the more power you gain in every future economic cycle. If you want to take this conversation further, the next video breaks down which countries' business owners should avoid in 2025 and which ones are turning into safe havens for growth. Because global thinking is not a luxury anymore. It is your competitive edge.